Very good morning and welcome to Breakfast News. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you all the latest news and updates. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the nation at 10 a.m. today, and India has reached the milestone of 100 crore COVID-19 vaccinations. Updates on that. UK Secretary of State Elizabeth Truss will arrive in New Delhi on a 3-day visit to India. We'll have an elaborated story on that also. And in sports, Scotland has qualified for Super 12s. All of that and much more. My name is Abhishek Mahajan and with me is my colleague Rukma. Good morning, Rukma.
A very good morning to you, Abhishek, and to all our viewers as well. Welcome to Breakfast News from me as well for news that shapes your day. And the topic today, the top story, is our vaccination drive. Accolades pouring in from across the world. The Prime Minister responds. We'll be telling you all about that. Meanwhile, floods continue in South India in particular as the stage is set for the COP26 talks, and of course news from sports, business and much more. But first, here are the headlines.
A day after India achieves the landmark milestone of 100 crore vaccinations in record 9 months, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the nation at 10 a.m. today.
Prime Minister says India's 100 crore jabs milestone shows the power of collective effort. In an article, PM says world's largest vaccination drive, an example of people's participation and whole of government approach.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanks world leaders for their wishes on India crossing 100 crore vaccinations milestone. Prime Ministers of Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Israel, President of Maldives, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, DG of World Health Organization hailed the achievement.
Cabinet nod to PM Gati Shakti Master Plan. In a Diwali gift for 47.14 lakh central government employees and 68.62 lakh pensioners, Cabinet approves increase of 3% in DNS allowance.
Pakistan to remain on the grey list of global terror financing watchdog FATF. 3 new countries, Turkey, Jordan and Mali, also added to the grey list.
In sports, Scotland create history, qualify for second round. For first time after win against Oman in T20 Cricket World Cup Group B match, Scotland will go into Group 2 of the Super 12s alongside Afghanistan, India, New Zealand and Pakistan.
Right, so those were the headlines. We'll start with our national segment, and our top story is Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the nation at 10 a.m. today. The announcement comes a day after India's scripted history of reaching the 1 billion COVID-19 vaccinations milestone mark. And shortly after the country reached the 100 crore vaccinations milestone mark, before 10 a.m. on Thursday, PM Modi had congratulated the country's healthcare workers for helping the country achieve the feat. The milestone is a triumph of Indian science, enterprise and collective spirit of 130 crore Indians, he had said. And later, while speaking via video conferencing after inaugurating a new building at AIIMS campus in New Delhi, PM Modi said this day of October 21st, 2021 has been recorded in history.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked world leaders for their wishes on India crossing 100 crore vaccinations against COVID-19. In a reply to a tweet by WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Prime Minister Modi said, "I welcome the support and partnership from my friend Dr. Tedros in the global fight against COVID-19. This reaffirms the Indian philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the need of the hour to ensure vaccine equity globally. India's vaccine century is a key milestone in that direction." In reply to a tweet by the Prime Minister of Bhutan, Prime Minister Modi said, "Thank you. Leon Chen, Dr. Lotte Shering, for your kind words on this historic occasion. We deeply cherish our friendship with Bhutan. He added, India remains committed in our fight against COVID-19 together with the region and the world. In reply to a tweet by President of Sri Lanka, PM Modi said, "Thank you, my friend, President Rajapaksa. Recent initiatives such as inaugural international flight to Kushinagar from Sri Lanka and our respective vaccination drives will further strengthen our diverse relationship and enhance interaction between our brotherly people." In reply to a tweet by President of Maldives, Prime Minister said, "Thank you, President Ibrahim Mohamed Soli, for your kind wishes. I am pleased to see the progress of the vaccination drive in the Maldives. As neighbors and close friends, our partnership to overcome COVID-19 has borne fruit." In response to a tweet by the Prime Minister of Israel, PM Modi said, "Thank you, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Appreciate your warm words. This milestone has been made possible by India's scientists, health workers and innovators who are also, along with their Israeli counterparts, building the foundations of a knowledge-based strategic partnership." Replying to a tweet by President of Malawi, PM Modi said, "Thank you, Excellency Lazarus Chakwera, for your wishes on India crossing vaccine century. Vaccine accessibility is a key to fighting the pandemic. We are in it together." Scripting a world record, India on Thursday touched the milestone of 1 billion vaccinations in a major fight against the COVID pandemic. Nearly 30% of adults of 1.3 billion people have received both the doses of anti-COVID-19 vaccine.
And India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 100 crore landmark, a milestone achievement in the ongoing fight against COVID-19. Over 100 crore, 62 lakh vaccine doses have been administered across the country so far. More than 56 lakh vaccine doses were administered till Thursday, 7 p.m. So India celebrated this historic achievement with the launch of a film and song at capital Delhi's Red Fort by Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia.
देशवासियों ने, हमारे वैज्ञानिकों ने, हमारे उद्यमियों की ताकत का ही ये परिणाम है कि भारत को वैक्सीन के लिए किसी और देश पर हमें निर्भर नहीं होना पड़ा।
ना हम रुके कहीं, ना हम डिगे कहीं, ना हम रुके कहीं, ना हम डिगे कहीं, शत्रु हो कोई भी हम झुके नहीं। दुश्मन के शस्त्र जो हो हजार, शतकोटि कवच से हम तैयार। मेरे भारत का ये विश्वास है, सबका साथ सबका प्रयास है। भारत का टीकाकरण लिख रहा एक नया इतिहास है, शतकोटि कर जो एहसास है।
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi affirmed the role of people's participation or Jan Bhagidari in his article published in popular dailies Indian Express and Hindustan Times. In his article, PM Modi said, India's successful vaccination drive has demonstrated to the world that democracy can deliver and that it has shown the power of Team India. He said that people of India have come forward to unanimously trust Made in India vaccines. Further, the Prime Minister expressed his gratitude to all involved in achieving the landmark achievement and chronologically marked India's successful vaccination journey. He has expressed joy and written, India completed the administration of 100 crore doses of the COVID-19 vaccine on October 21, 2021 in just about 9 months since the start of the vaccination drive. He has also written, the journey from anxiety to assurance has happened and our nation has emerged stronger thanks to the world's largest vaccination drive. He also mentioned that it has been a truly Bhagirath effort involving multiple sections of society. To get a sense of the scale, assume that each vaccination took just 2 minutes for a healthcare worker. At this rate, it took around 41 lakh man-days or approximately 11,000 man-years of effort to reach this landmark.
Right, our colleague Vishal Baristo joins us to talk more on the vaccination updates. Vishal, very good morning to you. After 100 crore vaccination target, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the nation at 10 a.m. today, and the announcement comes a day after India's scripted history of 1 billion COVID-19 vaccination milestone landmark. First of all, what do we expect in the address?
ना हम रुके कहीं ना हम झुके कहीं. Very good morning to you both, Abhishek and Rukma. It's a very proud moment for all of us because it's been a historic day yesterday, and the journey is still on. And you heard the Prime Minister saying that it was achieved under a very, very difficult situation. We all remember how the second wave was so difficult for everybody of us, and despite the not so supportive US, India continued with its efforts, and it was the Team India effort, as the Prime Minister said, that we could achieve, and we all had the Made in India vaccine, and the journey is still on. We have a population of 94 crore as far as adult population is concerned. Below 18 is still there, so it's still a long way to go, and I expect the Prime Minister to focus on that. Obviously, he has thanked the healthcare workers. He has said that it has been a triumph of the Indian science, but the journey is still on. It's a Team India effort, and we all need to support the initiative and the mission of the Prime Minister, and that is to vaccinate each and everybody. Abhishek?
Right, and well, in his article, the Prime Minister has also spoken about the what he calls Team India's effort, the collective effort, people's participation, which he says it would never have been possible to achieve the target without them. Also, the many congratulations he's given and the credit he's given to our healthcare workers. Clearly, a salute to them as well on this momentous occasion.
Well, absolutely, Rukma, because it is a Team India effort, and as the Prime Minister said, it is triumph of the democracy. Remember, India is the largest democratic country in the world. So truly a triumph of democracy, truly appreciation for the healthcare workers. I still remember I was in Jaipur covering those days when the first wave was on, and the flower petals that were showered upon the healthcare workers from the skies all over the country was the step that was taken by the Indian Prime Minister as to encourage the healthcare workers, the frontline workers, because they were working in such difficult conditions. It was the first wave, and nobody knew as to which way the world would go. It was a very, very difficult situation, but slowly but steadily, thanks to Team India efforts, thanks to the frontline workers, we have achieved this mission of 1 billion. And not only that, it is not only 100 crore, but 100 crore, 64. So it's a huge effort, but the journey is still on, and that is what the Prime Minister would be focusing upon. At the same time, Prime Minister has also thanked the world leaders. We have had greetings from the WHO, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and different countries. And India has always believed in the world, in the ideology of world is a family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And India has not only given vaccine to its own countrymen, but also distributed vaccines to wherever it was asked for, whether it was in the neighboring Bangladesh or other countries, Sri Lanka, but also to Maldives and other countries. So India has played its key role as a leader in not only in the subcontinent, but fast emerging as a global leader under the leadership of Indian Prime Minister, because vaccine is such thing that is required not only in our country, but also in the not so developed countries like some of the Asian countries, but also in the African continent. So India are truly leading the way and showing even the developed countries that India can achieve on its own. At the same time, it is all there to help and reach out to anybody and any country which asks or seeks India's help.
Right, Vishal, and everyone is applauding, and like you said, it's a triumph of Indian science. For example, ASI illuminated 100 monuments to celebrate 1 billion doses. Nation is celebrating, but now What is important is that everyone gets vaccinated soon, and this trend has to continue. And the biggest factor that we have reached this far is that the vaccination hesitancy has also gone down, and people are going for the vaccination in big numbers. So credit to the government and to the campaigns also that they have launched.
Well, absolutely, we should all give credit to the leadership of the Indian Prime Minister, and also the way the call was accepted and taken by the healthcare workers, because it was undoubtedly without their efforts and without their support, it could not have been achieved. But it is not only the 100 crore mark. Let me tell you that India is also considering the booster doses and also under 18 doses. So that is also another challenge that we have on our hands. And let me also tell you that 94 crore, as I inform our viewers, is the adult population, and most of them have been vaccinated, but the journey is still on. And with the help of the healthcare workers, the scientists, and also the initiatives taken by the Indian government, as you heard the song that was launched, Hum Jhuke Nahi, Hum Ruke Nahi, we never bow down to any challenges, we were never disturbed by any adverse conditions. Despite of no support from abroad, India continued with its journey. It took on the challenge thanks to Indian science that we are not only supporting our population but also reaching out to the world, and which is very, very commendable.
And Vishal, going forward, what would you say as far as healthcare workers are concerned, as far as the government is concerned? What are the challenges that are still there, because major part of the population still has to be vaccinated? We are talking about 2 doses of the vaccine, the younger population, and so on.
Well, Rikma, we need to understand that when we talk about 100 crore vaccines, and we have already crossed that mark, this is the fastest in the world. Though China is ahead of us, but China started off for much earlier, even their third phase trial was still on, and they started off vaccinating, which was not recommended by many of the scientists across the world. India started off only in mid-January. Now, keeping that in mind, it has been a wonderful journey. But then we have a population of adult population of 94 crores, which has to be taken care of, and then the under 18 also. There are trials going on between 13 and 15, but let me tell you that this is a most difficult challenge the world has ever had, because the virus keeps mutating, and that is what makes things much difficult, and that is why when the Prime Minister says that it is the triumph of Indian science indeed, because we would always be thankful to the Indian scientists, because it was all because of their efforts, it was all because of their frontline workers that this landmark has been achieved. But the journey is still on, and I would insist and repeat, the journey is still on. We have to take care not only of the adult population but also of the below 18 age group, and that is going to be quite challenging. But as the Prime Minister said, that it is Team India effort, and we all hope and we believe that Team India effort would achieve that target soon.
Absolutely, 35 crore of Indians have been vaccinated with both the doses, and like Dr. Radip Guleria, INS director, also said that the achievement proves that the vaccine is safe and effective. Well, thanks a lot, Vishal, for giving us your vital inputs.
And it's time now to move on. More news now regarding vaccination. Dr. Krishna Ella, Chairman and Managing Director of Bharat Biotech that developed Covaxin, has expressed pleasure for having been able to contribute to India's historic landmark in inoculating 100 crore people. Dr. Ella has called 100 crore vaccines. Dr. Ella has called the milestone as a remarkable achievement.
We all should be proud of that, what India has done it. I think the credit goes to scientists of this country and also the government system that delivered the vaccine to the last mile of the delivery. And I think that's significant progress. I think we proved to the world the Indian industry can do it, and Indian government system can deliver the vaccine to the last mile. And I think it's a significant achievement for the India, and I think this sets mark for the Indian industry that we can help the global health at large. And this is a significant success for the Indian science.
And the diversity of India necessitates community engagement at the local level through mediums that invoke trust to counter misinformation about COVID and the related vaccination drive. From braving the steep climb of the Himalayas to wading through severe floods to reaching the remotest areas to serve tribal population, the healthcare workers and the frontline workers are adopting unique methods at the local level, integrating them with established government and civil society networks to boost the vaccination drive. Here's more in this report.
India's diversity brings along several challenges with it, and the challenge becomes even bigger when it's related to the fight against a global pandemic such as COVID-19, during which all eligible people across the country have to be rapidly vaccinated. India's commitment and determination was clearly visible when the world's highest motorable village of Komik in the remote Spiti Valley of Himachal's tribal Lahore and Spiti district achieved 100% vaccination against COVID-19 for residents above the age of 45 years. Corona warriors have decided not to bow before the pandemic. These visuals from Arunachal Pradesh stand proof of it. Reaching the unreached, bringing COVID vaccines to remote communities. With this promise, a team of officers and doctors undertook a 9-hour arduous journey crossing mountain peaks and rivers. They administered COVID vaccine shots to 16 yak grazers in a remote village on the Himalayan heights in Arunachal Pradesh's Tawang district. The healthcare workers are leaving no stone unturned to ensure vaccination for all. Dedicated boats in Muzaffarpur in Bihar ensured COVID vaccination even in the flooded areas of the district. A large number of people left out of the vaccination drive due to inaccessibility and difficulties in reaching out to them. But the population living on remote islands in the middle of the sea in West Bengal's Sundarbans was facing a double challenge of cyclone Amphan and Yas and the COVID-19 pandemic. Irrespective of the high and low waves rising in the sea, health workers reached these islands and vaccinated 100% of the population there. With the secret resolve to vaccinate all citizens of the country, healthcare workers continue to brave all odds, proving to be our heroes in the fight against the global pandemic. Bureau Report, DD India.
Right, so we'll slip into a very short break. On the other side, more stories.
With the world's largest COVID vaccination drive, India is leading the way. As the vaccine reaches every corner of the nation, do not forget the mantra, Dawai bhi, Kadai bhi. Let's continue our fight against COVID-19. Vaccination along with social distancing, sanitization and masks.
Mask up, India!
Put your mask on and cover your nose and be safe.
Mask up, India.
Welcome back after a short break. Some more stories now.
Moving on to other news, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has approved PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. The project will greatly reduce logistic costs and boost the economy. The Cabinet also approved additional DNS allowance to central government employees and DNS relief to pensioners. Details in this report.
The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on Thursday approved the Prime Minister Gati Shakti National Master Plan, including institutional framework for rolling out, implementation, monitoring and support mechanism for providing multimodal connectivity. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on October 13th launched the Rs 100 crore National Master Plan to develop infrastructure to reduce logistic cost and boost the economy. Union Minister Anurag Thakur said a multimodal network planning group will be constituted with representation from the heads of the network planning division from various ministries and departments.
ये अपने आप में पीएम गति शक्ति योजना, बुनियादी ढांचा योजना में इंटर मिनिस्ट्रियल और इंटर डिपार्टमेंट कोऑपरेशन में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्लानिंग में गेम चेंजर साबित होगी। और हमारा मानना भी है कि गति शक्ति विकास परियोजना के प्रति हमारे दृष्टिकोण में एक बड़ा बदलाव का संकेत देता है।
The Prime Minister Gati Shakti NMP will be monitored through a 3-tier system and will be presided over by an empowered group of secretaries headed by the Cabinet Secretary. The NPG will be assisted by a technical support unit in the Logistics Division of Ministry of Commerce and Industry with experts from sectors like aviation, maritime, public transport, rail, roads and highways, ports, etc. and subject matter experts from urban and transport planning, structures that includes roads, bridges and buildings, power, pipeline, GIS, ICT, finance, market, PPP, logistics, data analytics, etc. The Union Cabinet, chaired by the Prime Minister on Thursday, also approved to release an additional installment of DNS allowance to central government employees and DNS relief to pensioners with effect from 1st of July 2021, representing an increase of 3% over the existing rate of 28% of the basic pay or pension to compensate for price rise.
47,14,000 केंद्र सरकार के कर्मचारियों को और 68,62,000 पेंशनर्स लाभान्वित होंगे। इस पर कुल खर्चा प्रतिवर्ष 9,488.74 करोड़ रुपए आएगा।
After the increase of 3%, the rate of DNS allowance of central employees has now gone up to 31%. The country was also congratulated during the cabinet meeting for achieving the 100 crore vaccination figure, an important milestone in India's fight against COVID under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Well, moving on, Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Thursday conducted an aerial survey of the rain-hit Garhwal and Kumaon divisions of Uttarakhand. He took stock of the situation in the Prayag, Pauri, Ramnagar, Ramgarh, Rudrapur and Haldwani. After aerial survey, the Union Home Minister held a review meeting with the state and union officials and gave them necessary instructions. He said Centre had alerted the state in advance about the disaster, resulting in minimal loss of lives and damages in the state. And talking to the media after the meeting, the Union Home Minister said that the entire administrative machinery, including the state government and the relief and rescue team, is working diligently. He said all necessary arrangements have been made in the relief camps also. He said that due to timely warning of heavy rains in Uttarakhand, damage was minimum and required arrangements were made for rescue and relief operations in time. The Union Minister said that a few months back, rupees 250 crore was given to the state government in advance for the disaster, due to which the work has already started.
And meanwhile, the Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for heavy rains till the 25th of October for 8 districts in rain-hit Kerala. They are Pathanamthitta, Kottayam, Idukki, Palakkad, Malappuram, Kozhikode, Wayanad and Kannur. At the same time, a yellow alert has been issued for the remaining districts. A warning has also been issued to fishermen not to venture into the sea. On the 15th and the 16th of October, heavy rains and landslides claimed 42 lives in Kerala.
Well, shifting focus now, the First Sea Lord and Navy Chief or UK Admiral Tony Radakin is visiting India. He will be holding talks today with Navy Chief Admiral Karambir Singh. Also, the first tri-service exercise is presently underway between the three services of India and UK. The Army exercise featuring the Gorkha Regiment of Indian Army and Fauzilia Regiment of UK is being held in Chaubatia in Uttaranchal. The Navy exercise is being held in the Arabian Sea till 27th of October. The UK has fielded the carrier strike group HMS Elizabeth along with F-35 fighters and naval destroyers and a submarine, while 3 stealth guided missile destroyers and 2 stealth frigates and MiG-29K and Kamov 31 choppers are representing Indian Navy. Well, our correspondent Nandita Dagar joins us. She has more information on this. Good morning, Nandita. The First Sea Lord and Navy Chief of UK Admiral Tony Radakin is visiting India and he'll be holding important talks today. And also, UK Chief of Defence Staff called on General CDS General Bipin Rawat They discussed way forward to enhance defense cooperation. What more can you tell us?
Good morning, Abhishek and Rupma. This is actually the largest show of support and strength of the UK in the Indian Ocean region. Not just these two high-level visits of General Nick Carter, who is the Chief of Defence Staff, and of course the First Sea Lord and Navy Chief, Admiral Radican, comes at a time when the Konkan exercises are going on.
Yeah.
Now the Konkan was a naval exercise which was always held between the UK and Indian navies, the Royal Navy and the Indian navies. But this time this is a tri-service exercise, which means that the three services, Army, Navy as well as Air Force of UK as well as India, they will be exercising together. As you told, that there is a company level strength which is holding joint drills in humanitarian assistance, disaster relief and counter-terrorism in the hills of Chopatia near Ranikhet in Uttaranchal. Also, the Air Force has already exercised. The Air Force has already exercised with the HMS Queen Elizabeth II, which is the carrier strike group of the Royal Navy. Now, the carrier strike group is a very big show of strength. It is a potent symbol of power and reach, because you see, it is a 65,000-ton behemoth which is carrying with it a complement of F-35 Lightning fighter jets. Also, there's a Royal Netherlands Navy's frigate and several other destroyers and a submarine also. The Indian Navy, as I told you, is leading 3 stealth frigates. There is the INS Kolkata, INS Kochi, the INS Talwar and Tej are also there. They are the stealth frigates. Apart from Kamov choppers, MiG-29K fighter jets, which will be operating upon the Queen Elizabeth II. So there is interoperability, which means that the Indian Navy will be operating from the deck of the Queen Elizabeth II. Also, the UK is calling this a demonstration of its commitment to diplomatic, security and economic ties in the Indo-Pacific region. They have called India essential to free and open and inclusive Indo-Pacific, which means that in countering China, India is key to the UK strategy.
Right, Nandita. Well, many thanks for joining us with that detailed report. We'll be back with you throughout the day for more.
Right, so moving on to our next story now. UK Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs Elizabeth Truss will arrive in New Delhi on a 3-day visit to India. And during her stay in New Delhi, Truss will hold talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on bilateral, regional and international issues of mutual interest. And as part of the visit, the UK Minister will travel to Mumbai on Saturday. During the India-UK virtual summit between the two Prime Ministers on 4th May this year, the bilateral relationship between the two nations was elevated to comprehensive strategic partnership. The ties have been marked by regular high-level exchanges and growing cooperation in diverse areas. External Affairs Ministry said UK Secretary of State's visit will be an opportunity to review the Roadmap 2030 launched during the virtual summit and further deepen the partnership across various sectors like trade, science and technology, innovation, defense, climate, education and health sectors.
Union Environment Minister Bhupender Yadav held bilateral talks with Frans Timmermans, Executive Vice President European Green Deal, European Union, ahead of the upcoming COP26 meet. Both sides discussed a wide range of climate issues, EU and India's climate policies and bilateral cooperation. They also acknowledged that India and EU should work together to achieve a successful outcome of COP26 to enable full and effective implementation of the UN FCCC and the Paris Agreement. The Environment Minister stated that all important pending issues at COP26 like Article 6, Common Time Frame, Enhanced Transparency Framework should be resolved mutually, taking into account national priorities and circumstances. He underlined the need for long-term climate finance and fulfillment of the goal of $100 billion committed by developed countries. The minister also highlighted India's ambitious climate action plans under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi across renewable energy, sustainable transport, energy efficiency, biodiversity and conservation. Applauding India's leadership on climate action, Timmermans said that the whole world is in admiration of India's ambitious target of 450 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030.
Right, so every day we bring you a story on India's freedom struggle. In today's episode, we will remember Ashfaqullah Khan, who was born on this day in 1900. We will also remember Vittal Bhai Patel, who left for heavenly abode on 22nd October 1933. And also on this day in 1947, Pakistan invaded Kashmir.
On 22nd of October 1900 was born Ashfaqullah Khan in Shahjahanpur, Uttar Pradesh. Growing up, Khan heard stories from his eldest brother about the bravery and Urdu poetry of Ram Prasad Bismil. When the 1922 Chowra Chowri incident prompted Gandhi to end the non-cooperation movement, Khan was one of the many youngsters left disappointed.
In the mid-1920s, Khan and Bismil went on to found the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association HSRA with the aim of winning freedom for the country through an armed revolution. Khan had a flair for Urdu poetry and wrote under the pseudonyms Varsi and Hasrat Shahjahanpuri.
He wrote at length about the British conspiracy in India.
फूट डालकर शासन करने की चाल का हम पर कोई असर नहीं होगा और हिंदुस्तान आजाद होकर रहेगा. An armed struggle required finances. Thus, to arrange for the finances, Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan and 9 other members of the group planned to carry out train robbery. On the 9th of August 1925, Kakori Express was going from Shahjahanpur to Lucknow.
The train was carrying money that had been collected at various railway stations and was to be deposited in Lucknow. Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan and other revolutionaries stopped the train and fled with the cash they found in it.
They were arrested within a month of the robbery. The trial for the case went on for about 18 months and ended in April 1927. Ashfaqullah Khan, Ram Prasad Bismil, Rajendra Lahiri, Roshan Singh were sentenced to death and the others were given life sentences.
At the age of 27, Ashfaqullah Khan was hanged in Faizabad jail. When asked about his last wish, he said,
कुछ आरज़ू नहीं है आरज़ू तो ये है, रख दे कोई ज़रा सी खाक वतन कफन में.
A memorial grave was set up in his hometown of Shahjahanpur.
Vittal Bhai Patel left for his heavenly abode on the 22nd of October 1933. An acclaimed leader and a humanist, Vittal Bhai Patel was the elder brother of Sardar Vallabh Bhai Patel and a renowned freedom fighter.
Also on this day in 1947, Pakistan invaded Kashmir, where India got independence and was partitioned to create Pakistan in August 1947. Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state ruled by Hari Singh.
2 months after the independence, on October the 22nd, thousands of tribal mercenaries and Pakistan army regulars invaded the Kashmir Valley, overrunning the outposts manned by the king's forces in Muzaffarabad and other places as they headed towards Srinagar, their ultimate target.
In this background of devastation, Hari Singh reached out to the Indian government in Delhi. He signed the instrument of accession and the Indian troops started landing in Jammu and Kashmir on October the 27th. The Indian troops launched a counter-attack. By November the 8th, the Indian forces secured Srinagar, the seat of the princely state.
Hey!
The pushback continued till mid-November when the scale of war was reduced. The war continued with lower intensity till the end of 1948. The ceasefire agreement was officially signed in January 1949.
Right, now let's move on to our next segment now, which is Across the Globe.
Pakistan will remain on the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force. Global Terror Financing Watchdog FATF has retained Pakistan on its grey list of countries. Addressing a press conference, FATF President Marcus Player said the decision was taken at the conclusion of the three-day virtual plenary of the organization. The FATF President also said that 3 new countries, Turkey, Jordan and Mali, have also been added to the grey list. Player said Pakistan is cooperating and only 4 action items remain to be completed. In June this year, the FATF had retained Pakistan on its grey list for failing to check money laundering, leading to terror financing. It also asked Islamabad to investigate and prosecute UN-designated terrorists, including Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar. It has also asked Pakistan to work to address its strategically important deficiencies. Pakistan was placed on the grey list by the FATF in June 2018. Since then, it continues to be in the list due to its failure to comply with the FATF mandates.
Let's now take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the globe. So far, more than 24 crore, 32 lakh people have contracted COVID-19, while the number of recoveries stand above 22 crore, 4 lakh globally. The virus has claimed over 49 lakh 44,000 lives worldwide. The US continues to remain worst affected country with the disease, where the number of cases have crossed 4 crore 16 lakh, while the death toll remains above 7 lakh and 53,000.
The World Health Organization has called on the world's 20 richest countries to step up donations of COVID vaccines to the global south. WHO's Director General has said that the G20 countries must fulfill their dose sharing commitments immediately. Gordon Brown, WHO Ambassador for Global Health Financing, has informed that there is still a shortfall of 500 million vaccines to reach WHO's 40% vaccination target in all countries in mid-2022, while 240 million doses are lying unused in the West.
In US, a panel of advisors to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention authorized the booster shots of COVID-19 vaccine of Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. The US Food and Drug Administration has not only unanimously voted to provide the booster doses of Moderna and Johnson & Johnson to everyone above the age of 18, but also backed use of different vaccine for boost and said Americans can choose a different shot from their original inoculation. The CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices voted to recommend booster doses for everyone 18 and older who received the first dose of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine at least 2 months earlier. For those who received their second dose of Moderna's vaccine at least 6 months earlier, ACIP recommended a third shot for those aged 65 and over, as well as some individuals at risk or severe illness and those at risk of exposure to the virus through their jobs.
And the COVID pandemic continues to hit new records in Russia, which has already announced a nationwide week-long shutdown of workplaces from the 28th of October in a bid to tackle the spiraling cases in the country. Russia registered a record number of deaths and cases on Thursday as well. The country's total cases now has crossed 81,31,000. Russia has lost more than over 2,27,000 lives to the disease. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has blamed the infection surge on a slow vaccination campaign.
Canada's federal government and the 10 provinces have agreed on a standard COVID-19 electronic vaccination passport, allowing domestic and foreign travel. The deal for vaccination passports prevents possible confusion that could be caused if each of the provinces which have primary responsibility for healthcare issued their own unique certificates. The document will have a federal Canadian identifying mark and meets major international smart health card standards. In another major announcement, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that Canada has signed a deal with Pfizer Inc. to receive 2.9 million doses of their pediatric COVID-19 vaccine shortly after it is approved for use by Health Canada. The country has so far registered 16,93,000 cases of the disease, with fatalities crossing 28,600.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern paused briefly as an earthquake rattled the capital Wellington while she was addressing the nation in a coronavirus briefing. However, she continued speaking undisturbed thereafter. Wellington and nearby areas were shaken by a 5.9 magnitude earthquake, with the epicenter 35 kilometers southwest of Taumaruni in central North Island, according to GeoNet. While the shaking was felt widely, there were no reports of damage or injuries. The US Geological Survey has put the magnitude at 5.6. New Zealand often experiences weak to medium intensity earthquakes as it lies on the seismically active Ring of Fire, a 40,000 kilometer arc of volcanoes and ocean trenches girdling much of the Pacific Ocean.
Right, from across the globe now, let's move on to our next segment, which is Web News Review. Right, so our colleague Meghna Dev is standing by to talk further on Web News Review segment. Over to you, Meghna.
The Patrick Sela Tunnel for Tawang, which is to be completed, will be completed by mid-2022, which is an engineering marvel which is underway, and at 13,000 feet in icy cold weather, this is going to bolster all-weather connectivity, which will help to facilitate the military deployments in such places. BRO is working to complete this about 700 crore project, which has 2 tunnels and approach roads, and it is expected that this will be completed before the deadline of August next year. Next, we have no pre-departure RT-PCR tests for fully jabbed people with WHO-approved vaccines in India for going to the Netherlands. Embassy of Netherlands in India tweeted that travelers from India fully vaccinated with WHO-approved vaccines no longer need a test before departure to the Netherlands. Next is, as the wishes have been pouring in from WHO, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and many other countries as India achieves 100 crore vaccination milestone. Many of the countries have congratulated Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the scientists, the health workers. Besides that, also they have called it a mammoth task and a major accomplishment, in the fight against COVID-19. Next, we have Israeli leaders have recommended reopening of the country to fully vaccinated tourists. That will begin from November 1, which is about a year and a half after closing borders to the most foreign visitors due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And foreigners who have been fully vaccinated less than 6 months ago or who have recently taken their booster jab will be allowed to visit. Besides that, also the people who have recovered from COVID-19 less than 6 months ago will be allowed to visit, though there will be a formal approval required. Besides that, the people from red countries, that is countries with high outbreak, will not be permitted. Next, Twitter has acquired a group chat app Sphere. Now this is in context to beefing up the in-app chat feature So Cheer is a London-based group chat app, and Twitter has acquired it. It is a move by Twitter to broaden its product offerings to its users, especially personal and group messaging capabilities. So Cheer is going to enhance that. So that is why Twitter has acquired Cheer, which is a London-based chat app. Last we have in the bad news review for today is India is slowly opening to the possibilities of the seaweed industry. The government has come up with an investment of 640 crore rupees and is expecting to enhance the seaweed production by 10 crore tons by 2025. There are various uses of different versions of seaweed, be it in laboratories, pharmaceuticals, paints. We also have processed food, cosmetics, paper. So, India is trying to tap on the potential of the seaweed industry and it is expected to rise multi-fold by 2035. So that's all I have in the web news review for today. For more news and updates, back to the studios.
Right, thank you, Meghna, for the detailed web news review segment. Now let's move on to our next segment, which is Sports Track. In cricket, Scotland qualified for its first ever T20 World Cup Super 12 appearance with an 8-wicket win over Oman on Thursday. The Kyle Coetzer-led side in fact did it in convincing fashion in Muscat as it topped Group B undefeated with wins over Bangladesh, Papua New Guinea and host Oman. The 2021 edition was Scotland's fourth T20 World Cup appearance. It was one among 12 participants of the inaugural tournament in 2007. It finished bottom in its first round group that also included India and Pakistan. Scotland's next appearance, the 2009 World Cup held in England, fell on similar lines as it was squashed by South Africa and New Zealand in the first round. Well, that's all we have. Go on, please.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Well, the satellite picture shows that conditions are becoming favorable for further withdrawal of the southwest monsoon. From remaining parts of northeast India, entire North Bay of Bengal, remaining parts of West Bengal, parts of Central Bay of Bengal, remaining parts of Odisha, some parts of Andhra Pradesh, some more parts of Telangana, entire Goa, Karnataka and Central Arabian Sea around 23rd. And with likely setting in of northeasterly winds in the lowest tropospheric levels over the Bay of Bengal and extreme South Peninsular India, the southwest monsoon is likely to withdraw from the entire country around 26th October. A cyclonic circulation lies over Comorin area and neighborhood and a trough runs from the cyclonic circulation to east central Arabian Sea. A fresh western disturbance is likely to affect western Himalayan region, especially Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Gilgit-Baltistan and Muzaffarabad and Himachal Pradesh from today to the 24th of October. Time now to take a look at temperatures recorded across towns and cities. Well, that's all we have for you in today's edition of Breakfast News. We hope you enjoyed our show. Meanwhile, as the festive season continues from here on and as winter sets in slowly, we'd like to remind our viewers not to forget that the battle against COVID is not yet over. Always wear a mask as you step out of your home and maintain social distancing and hand hygiene and get yourself vaccinated.
Right, but we are showing you the visuals as India has scripted history in providing 100 crore COVID-19 vaccination doses. Historical monuments like you can see, Pan India lit up in tricolor to celebrate the milestone achievement. And have a look at these visuals and enjoy. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.
Namaskar.